Welcome back. ਆਪਾਂ often ਸੋਚਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ lack of opportunity ਮਿਲਦੀ ਆ or we're not included enough or sports are not diverse enough that they don't include Asians. Well, actually ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ guest ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੋ ਕਿ not only Asian ਆ, he's also Punjabi, Singh Sardar ਵੀ ਆ, and he's head of diversity and inclusion at the FA. So, ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਬੁਲਾਈਏ ਡਾਊਡ ਰੋਚਨ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਡਾਊਡ
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ
ਡਾਊਡ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹ ਦੱਸ ਕਿ what do you do on ਤੂੰ ਐਡਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਟਾਈਟਲ ਹੈ ਤੇਰਾ and what do you do at the FA and ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਜੌਬ ਮਿਲੀ at the FA and how did you get selected and what is your job role?
Yeah, so my job role is, as you've said, head of diversity and inclusion programs at the FA. So I look after a number of the big strategic programs that we have across national football. I've got a background in professional services, so I spent 15 years in global transformation, working with a number of clients across the world, and I came into the FA about 3 years ago to head up their program division for the England teams at the time. Did it for 6 months and really enjoyed it, and then kind of went into a temporary role as a lead in the diversity space, and it's just grown from there really, just one after the other. So it's an area that you can really make a difference in, so it's great fun, and that's why I'm here.
As your remit, it's your job. Is it your job to help the FA get involved more into the communities? Is that your role?
Yeah, so there's an element of my job which is about community engagement, of course, stakeholder engagement.
Yeah.
So I look after some of the diversity initiatives we have across elite football, for example, across our England squads. Some of the grassroots work that we do, and that is engaging with some of the local county FAs. So the counties are the ones that run grassroots football in every part of the country. And there's 50 plus county FAs. I will look after some of our anti-discrimination activity that we have across the FA, as well as bespoke programs like Faith in Football, like how does faith interact with football, as well as Asian inclusion. So how you get more Asians, and we're talking Asians across the board. So whether you're South Asian, like we are today, Punjabi, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, etc., but also East Asian,
Southeast Asian,
so Chinese, Japanese, people of that kind of heritage. And it's about trying to get more people engaged with the game. And ultimately, by getting more people engaged in the game, you will see more professionals coming out the other side.
So what plans does the FA have for the Asian community to get involved in the game? We all know that Apane love playing football. We have a federation which plays tournaments in the summer. We've all been there. We've all gone to there. We have some Asian footballers who have come prominently, perhaps not enough, which we know. And we have a pool of talent which perhaps feels that they can make it in football, but perhaps it feels has not been scouted enough, not being spotted enough. So how is the FA dealing with all of this?
So we have an Asian inclusion strategy which is around developing Asians in football nationally.
Okay.
We launched it in April of 2019.
Okay.
But we have been doing work in this space for quite a number of years. You can argue that maybe some of the fruits of that labour have been only got to us to a certain point, but we have been working in Asian inclusion for a number of years. It was before my time, but we relaunched the Asian strategy in 2019. So we're about 18 months in now. We have specific pillars of that strategy, which is about community pathways, women and girls, better engagement, in order to tap into the communities. Because I think one of the things is that many of the community might feel that football's not for them. You see lack of Asians in the game, and therefore you instantly turn off and you think, well, okay, if there's hardly any Asians or people who look like me in the game, parents might not want their children to get involved, and it becomes a little bit of a vicious cycle. So we're trying to tap into the communities to ensure that they are giving their children, for example, the opportunity to go and play, because that's where it starts. You've got to go in, you've got to play grassroots football, and if you're good enough, if the players are good enough, they will get through the system, and that's where someone like Jan Danda came from, who I know you've spoken to.
Yeah, that's right.
Started as a grassroots lad, went into an academy, and developed his way through and to become a professional on the other side. So if there's less going in at the beginning, there's less coming out the other end. And so one of the things we want to do is to make sure there's more kids playing, girls, people with disabilities, young boys, everybody, and that will lead its way through the professional game.
How serious are the FA about overcoming prejudices and conceptions? Like aksar apan dekhde hain that a lot of Asians, a lot of minorities feel that we're good enough, but we don't get the chances. We don't get scouted enough.
Yeah.
And a lot of preconceptions are perhaps Asians aren't genetically they're good enough, or they have to have technique because they haven't got the power and the pace. So how serious about the FA about addressing these sort of issues?
Very serious. I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be there if we were not serious about it. You know, I'm someone who is there from an Asian background, Sikh Punjabi background, and I'm there in the system because I believe they're trying to do the right thing. I wouldn't be there otherwise. So deadly serious. I think there's plenty of things that we can do, and some of the programs that we got in place are an opportunity for us to keep developing it. So we take it very, very seriously. It's one that we need to get better at. But there are people like me there who are going to make a difference, because we wouldn't be there otherwise. And
what about the FA in recruitment-wise and finding out about the staff and the diversity in itself?
Yeah.
When we think of the FA historically and the board members, we just think about 10, 12 bandés sitting around a table, Sare Gorea, and they're white. Historically, they might not even be involved in the game. There might be CEOs from company, often different other lives of business. That is the image that not only we get, but also the British public also have the same image of that. So, I mean, how true is that, and how much is the FA changed from that, or how not true is that?
I think it's changed massively. I think there is a perception, like you said, there's a view that it's very well, white dominated. And let's not forget, this is a 150-year-old institution, right? Yeah. So it came from the time when it was
white dominated.
It was dominated that way. If you look at the diversity of the FA now, it is very diverse in terms of an organisation. We have strict targets on where we're trying to get to in terms of our own staff. We have a principle called the Rooney Rule, which is about for every kind of role we have in the technical division, which is England teams. Yeah. So if you're a coach, physio, a back office operation staff, coordinator for the England team or something like that, there's a rule that dictates that you have, people that apply, if you are from a diverse background, underrepresented, which is, traditionally, historically underrepresented, that you get through the recruitment process. If you've got the right skills and experience, it is still based on merit. But we have things in place that are designed to increase diversity. It's designed to address the underbalance. And so, those are kind of things that demonstrate that we as an organisation are trying to represent the society that we serve. And the society that we serve is everybody. It's the 30 million spectators. It's the 100,000 grassroots teams. It's the 12, 13 million participants. That is now modern Britain, modern England, that is so diverse that we have to ensure that we as an organisation are representative of society as well. So absolutely that, it's changing.
Now, you're a clear representative of our community, of someone who's in a position to make a change in the FA. Yeah. Over the years, we haven't seen people like you in that position. Even now, there may be a couple of you, maybe 3 or 4 of you in that position, in maybe an organisation of thousands, of hundreds. Yeah. So, does the FA also looking to recruit people into positions like yours?
Yes.
And are they looking for that? And are they going out into the communities? And have they told you in your remit to look, Dal, we've got to be a bit more diverse in that respect?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what the Rooney Rule was there for in the England squads. But also, we're committed to diversity. So every application process will reference the fact that we're committed to diversity. We've even launched the Football Diversity Code in the last 6 to 7 months, which is actually not just about our organisation. It's about trying to change the leadership cultures of clubs in terms of getting clubs to think about diversity in a different way, and using specific targets to help them get there. Because if you've got a target to work to and you're going to be measured against it, then you might do things differently, and that's what the Football Leadership Diversity Code does for football.
Now, isn't this like a vicious circle? It's like the Asian kids see we haven't got any representative, so appa nahi khelna hai na, and it's like the FA are saying, well, the Asian community aren't coming forward, because they don't want to send their kids. Isn't it like a vicious circle? And how are we going to break this?
You could argue that. I mean, if you look back, when I was when I was younger, in the 90s, growing up playing football, I was captain of my school. I joined a Sunday league team. Yeah. My dad didn't have a clue. He's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Football ki karna, doctor bano, do this, do that. And I said, okay, fine. So
and you did. And you became a professional, right?
Well, became a professional. But I wanted to become a footballer. That was my dream at the time. But the parents didn't quite understand. And I think now we're 3-4 generations in. My children, for example, it's not the same experience as our parents. And so that kind of secularization of the Asian community means that we're actually more clued up and we can bring our children into the game. So the stereotypes are being broken. I think Yan Dander's a good example. Danny Bath is a good example. There's females. There's Rosie Kamita out there. Anwar Uddin. The Simran Jamat, who is Punjabi Sikh girl who plays in the championship. So there are Asian players coming through. There's probably not enough of them, in all honesty. There needs to be more.
Not in representation or not compared to the population. There isn't enough, huh?
Yeah, but I think it takes time. I think where we are as an Asian community, and I'm talking generalization in terms of the wider Asian community, we are probably now where the black community was about 25, 30 years ago. Right. It's normal now to be a player from a black African heritage, black African Caribbean heritage. Maybe it's not quite as normal to see Asian players, and that's the kind of thing that we need to break. That's the kind of feeling that when you see an Asian player on the pitch, it's normal. That's where we've got to get to.
Now, what's your message for kids out there who want to get into football, but their parents are a bit hesitant?
Yeah.
What is your message? Because perhaps it happened to a lot of parents. There are many great footballers out there in our community. I know. I've seen them at tournaments. You've seen them on a Sunday. You've played with a few, Hannah, who are really good. Like you said, you were good, at football, and you were playing football. What's your message to the parents and to the kids? No.
I think to parents, the message is that you must give your children the chance to follow their passions, whether it's sport, whether it's the arts, music, whatever it might be. I think traditionally, because we're economic migrants and we have a very strong work ethic, we've come from a world where everyone has to be a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer, right? You're a lawyer.
I'm a lawyer, that's right. Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I think we need
look
to...
at me, I wanted to be a singer.
well, fair enough. Yeah. And we need to be able to normalise the fact it's okay to do other things. Yeah. It's okay to follow other traditions and follow a different career path. So for parents, I would say, let your children test the waters. Like, get them into a football team, look for a grassroots team, get them training in their schools, get them involved, because if they've picked up the talent, then they could go all the way through. It's difficult, and to children, I would say follow your passions 100%. If you want to be a footballer, like I tell my daughter, I want her to be she's 8 years old, but I want her to be a footballer. So how is she going to get that influence? She's going to get the influence from seeing me pushing her into that into that kind of space. Whether she makes it or not is a different story. But we've got to enable the kids to follow their passions as well, not kind of pigeonhole them into the traditions and the vocations that we think are the right ones.
Dal, thank you very much for coming on. We're proud of you as a community for where you are and for visually representing us as well, and for also helping out the community. I hope your role really works out, and I really hope that you manage to get people from the Asian community to get them into the game and get them at a level where we can be proud of them as well.
I hope so.
Thank you very much. So, AGC Sade Dal Droch, जो साडे सिगे FA ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਾਂ ਹੈਡ ਆਫ ਡਾਇਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਐਂਡ ਇਨਕਲੂਜਨ। ਹੁਣ ਜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਅਨਯੂਜੂਅਲ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਜੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੱਬਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੇਲਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਬਟ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਦੇ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲੀ ਖੇਲੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜੀ, ਪਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਲਿੱਪ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ।
In the last 8, Raj Hundal, the hitman. He's got the 9. The 9! Defending champion from England, age 24. Shot on the 2.
Yes. The 888.com World Pool Masters champion from England, Raj Hundal.
Right, we've seen people play football and cricket, Asians, and wrestling and other sports, but my next guest plays a sport which, although we play this in pubs and bars and maybe at home, we never see a professional player, especially from an Apna background, play it. But this is a person I've known for a long time. I've interviewed him before. He's very successful. in his field. He's a champion, and he's got new things coming on, and he's got a lot to talk about to us today. So I'd like to introduce my brother, I'll say, Raj Hundal. Raj, Sat Sri Akal, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Yar. Sat Sri Akal. Thank you for having me, Harjap. It's been a minute, but it's like it always feels like it was yesterday I spoke to you. You know, even if we don't talk for a minute.
I know.
That's love. That's a brotherly love and respect. You know,
That,
you're a
that
champ in your game too.
Oh, thank you very much, Raj. Thank you. Raj, now everyone's going to say, right, Asians in Sport is the title of our show. But they're going to say, well, cricket, football, hockey, you know, but how does an Asian get into the sport that you did? And how does he even think about playing professionally? There's no up and I doing it. I haven't grown up watching an up and I doing it, and I don't think I know any other up and apart from you who does it. So it took a dub out. And how's this road?
Can I be honest? It's in a way. See, I'm lucky because my generation never really got that. Listen, they were told to do what you did: go and be a lawyer, go and
Yeah.
be a doctor, go and be a dentist. But truthfully, my father was actually and still is extremely gifted in his hands, talented, plays all sports well. He's actually ambidextrous as well, my dad.
Right.
And it's funny that because my son's ambidextrous, so there's something getting passed on here in the genes. And but he never was given the support and push forward into any of the sports. And he was great in a lot of sports, so he never got that from his dad. But I guess my dad lived his dreams through me. But I'm the lucky one because they were my dreams too. I did want. I had a love for the game. I had a talent for the game. Um, But here's how I fell into it, which is funny. My mother worked in my mussie's restaurant, you
Yeah.
know, back then for literally like nothing, you know, and
As everyone does.
you know the score, and they had in the store cupboard a 6-foot table that belonged to my older cousins who
Okay.
are 10, 11, 12 years older than me. So I'm a little kid. They're like 16, 17, 18. I'm still 6 years old. And all I was thinking was, look, this child labor, you know, I'm in the back peeling potatoes. They got me doing, can you get, you know, the chutney, the imli, the packets, it comes in with the
That's right.
sticky.
Yeah.
My brother, forget it. My hands were stuck together for days. Like after peeling this is a true story, man. It's like, so my only way to escape this child labor was get in the store cupboard and go and play pool and just beat these guys up. So it was like it was my way out, and then I realized that I really, really like this game, and I feel good. I had a good feeling when I was potting balls as a 6-year-old, and my cousins and my uncles and all that, they're standing around, and now the neighbors are showing up, and they're standing around and having a look too, because they all saw something they liked, and something that kind of attracted them to want to watch, and I got a really good feeling of that. And sometimes I play good and they clap and things. And once they clapped, I was addicted to that. I said, I want that more often and I want to be the best. And then I find out there's no, you know, there's literally no brown colored faces. Forget Indian. Like Indian is Punjabi. I don't want to call myself Indian. That's embarrassing. Punjabi. There is definitely no Punjabi brother on the scene. And there definitely ain't no Sikh brother. Although I'm not a baptized Sikh, in my heart, that's what I am 100%. And we're the smallest percentage in India, but the truth is we're the bravest. And again, I'm going to talk about DNA, genes, and genetics, man. That's in my blood to win.
Wow. Raj, you mentioned your religion. Just how
Yes,
important does religion play a part in where you are today? I mean, mentally and physically,
everything,
yeah.
everything. I mean, I get my strength, my belief, my self belief, because I believe God is within me. You know, God is everywhere. So when I'm out there, I don't think I'm the smartest guy. I don't think I'm the greatest player. I just know that when it all clicks together, it's only God that can beat me. It's only myself that can beat me from within. I don't feel none of them can, but I know there's other great players that feel like that. But that belief, that's where it comes from. You know, I feel I was born to do something different. I feel like I was meant to go out there and break the mold and maybe transcend and do and take things to another level. But listen, look at the people that I look up to. First of all, our gurus, and we can't say people. These are not regular.
Yeah.
So these are. This is something else we're on about. If you look at our our Shaheeds, you go down the line from Baba Deep Singh Ji, Banda Singh Bahadur Ji, and even go to the new age revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh Ji. And listen, if I can't learn from them, like to stand up and be brave and fight my corner and put a stamp on this world for my people, listen, I'm playing a sport. These people were doing amazing thing. I'm doing something that's easy in all comparison. I only need a little bit of bravery, and I get it all from them.
Raj, thank you very much. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for your interview. ਸਾਡੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ.
God bless you, brother. One love.
Wow, what an interview that was with Raj Hundal, who plays an unusual sport, which we play everywhere at home. ਜੋ another sport ਸੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਘਰਾਂ 'ਚ ਖੇਲਦੇ ਆ ਪੱਬਾਂ 'ਚ ਖੇਲਦੇ ਆ but actually professionally ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਖੇਲਦਾ ਤੇ ਇਹ an example of somebody who's taken ਸ਼ੌਂਕ and ability to a professional level. So please ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜੋ interview ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਦਿਓ and get in contact with him if you think that you want to do the same. ਬਾਕੀ ਹੁਣ unusual sport ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਗੈਸਟ ਜੋ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਬੜੇ ਅਨਯੂਜੂਅਲ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜੀ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਘਰ 'ਚ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਲੋਕਡਾਊਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਘਰਾਂ 'ਚ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਬਣੇ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਦੇਖੋ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਐਂਡ ਯੂ ਬੀ ਜਸਟ as surprised and happy about this interview as I am. So Karanjit Kaur Bains, who's a champion weightlifter. ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦ ਸ਼ੋ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
ਤੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੋ ਜੀ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਚੈਂਪੀਅਨ ਹੋਣ ਦੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ ਦੇ ਦਈਏ।
Thank you.
We need to congratulate on being champion. ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦੱਸੋ ਜੀ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਕੀ ਆ? What's your sport about?
ਮੈਂ ਪਾਵਰ ਲਿਫਟਿੰਗ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ। ਇਸ ਡਿਸਪਲਿਨ ਵਿੱਚ 3 ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਆ। ਇੱਕ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਸਕੁਆਟ, ਇੱਕ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭਾਰ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੋਢੇ ਤੇ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਆ। You squat down.
ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਕੱਢਣੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂ। ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਬੈਂਚ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਬੈਂਚ ਤੇ ਲੰਮੇ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਆ। ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਠੀਕ ਆ।
ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਬੈਂਚ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ।
ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਨੂੰ ਇਹੀ ਪਤਾ, ਲੱਤਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ।
ਲੱਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ
ਲੈਗ ਡਾਈ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਡੈਡ ਲਿਫਟ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਭਾਰ ਫਲੋਰ ਤੇ ਪਿਆ ਚੱਕਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ।
Okay, so ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫਲੋਰ ਤੇ ਭਾਰ ਪਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਚੱਕਣਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ।
Straight pick it up, not above your head, just straight pick it up.
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਕੰਮ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਮਾਂ 'ਚ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ।
ਹੈਨਾ, ਪਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਕਲਿੱਪ ਵੱਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਕਿ ਕਰਨਜੀਤ ਕੀ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲੀ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਜਿੱਤਿਆ ਕੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਭਾਰ ਚੱਕ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ। ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਪਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਲਿੱਪ ਦੇਖੋ। ਜੀ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਬੈਕ ਜੀ। ਮੇਰੇ ਤਾਂ ਹੱਥ ਹੀ ਕੰਬਦੇ ਆ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਡਰ ਜਿਹਾ ਲੱਗਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਿਆ ਕਿ ਇੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਭਾਰ ਚੱਕ ਲੈਂਦੀ ਆ। ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹ 5 ਕਿਲੋ ਵਾਲੇ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਭਲਵਾਨ ਸਮਝੀਦਾ। Wow, Harjap. So this is not a conventional sport. This is something that people think ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਮ 'ਚ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ and you know we can do this, it's all right, ਆਪਣੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਲਈ। So why did you decide to do this, especially as a Punjabi female, ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆ ਕੇ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲੀ ਕਰਾਂ?
ਮੈਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਤੋਂ ਇੰਸਪਾਇਰ ਹੋਇਆ। My father is a former bodybuilder and powerlifter.
Wow.
And he's also my coach. So I was inspired by, yeah, especially we have a very special father-daughter relationship. Jiddan tusi film dekhe hona Dangal
yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking about.
Hanji,
I can imagine your dad's like Amir Khan type.
Hanji. So मैं पहला जब शुरू हुई सीगी sport fetch, I got into sport. I was doing athletics.
Okay.
So when I was growing up into a very sporty family, I have memories of walking into the gym. I'd see my dad training.
Yeah.
But I also have 2 older twin brothers.
Okay.
They were also working out, training, and I was really inspired. And जिदा sport ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ surround ਸੀਗੀ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਚਾਹ ਜਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਛੋਟੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਡੰਬਲ ਚੱਕਦੀ ਡੈਡ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵਾਹ ਬਈ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਜਾਨ ਹੈਗੀ
ਬੱਲੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਸ਼ੇਰ ਬੱਚੀ ਹੈ ਨੂੰ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਨਿਗਾਹ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ athletics ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ they were 400 meter hurdlers at national level.
Wow.
And I used to watch them and I was so inspired. I'm like, I want to do this. So I started off in athletics. And then I came into powerlifting when I was 17.
There's not a lot of Asians in athletics or powerlifting.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know any. I'm very athletics ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ Olympic game ਦੇਖੀ Commonwealth games ਦੇਖੀ ਦੀ even like from India level ਤਾਂ 1-2 ਮੈਡਲ ਹੀ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਨੂੰ ਬਾਕੀ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਚੀਨ ਲੈ ਜਾਂਦਾ USA ਲੈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ you know Great Britain get a few so you know who were your role models there apart from your family who else did you look up to or was there no one really to look up to?
I think in terms of who I looked up to, there have been inspirational athletes out there in terms of in the athletics. Milkha Singh with the 400 meters, he completely inspires me, and even Fauja Singh with the athletics and everything really inspires me. But I'd be silly not to say my own father, especially with the powerlifting. And I would say on my mother's side of the family, her older brother was a champion wrestler, Sarjeet Singh Randhawa, well known in India, and he really inspires me as well. So yeah, I like to do things in his memory.
When like you're competing and especially unfortunately in our community thodi taboo haga there's a difference between boys and girls and perhaps you've noticed it. I definitely notice it through the ages hai na and ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੁੜੀਏ ਤੂੰ ਇਹ ਕੰਮਾਂ ਚ ਕਾਹਨੂੰ ਪੈਣਾ ਆ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤੂੰ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਲਾ ਤੂੰ ਲਿਖ ਲਾ but there's a lot of kids out there thinking can I study and do what Karanjit is doing at the same time ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹੀ ਹੋਵੋਗੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਹੋਵੋਗੇ ਨਾਲ
ਹਾਂਜੀ so ਮੈਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਵੀ ਆ so alongside I like to say during the day I'm a recently qualified ACA chartered accountant so I work for
hold on I mean ਨਾ ਸਮਝੋ ਕਿ ਡੋਲੇ ਬਣਾਏ ਹੋ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਫੇਲ ਫੂਲ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਭਾਰ ਭੂ ਚੱਕਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਈ ਅਕਾਊਂਟੈਂਟ ਆ ਇਹ ਚਾਰਟਰਡ ਅਕਾਊਂਟੈਂਟ ਹਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮੂੰਹ ਕੀ ਅਕਾਊਂਟੈਂਟ ਵੀ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਐਵੇਂ ਨਾ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਮੰਗਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਿਓ but so you're an accountant in day and you're a weightlifter like a power lifter and all the other time.
Yes, I am. So you could say like powerlifting is almost my hobby. So during the day I do my accounting and I guess it's something different when I talk to my colleagues at work about what I do outside.
So my daughter who's 8, she would poke me now and say, Dad, that's Wonder Woman. So you're like a real life sort of Wonder Woman like in the day or something. I was like, no, calculator de bore lucky honi hai.
Hanji.
Well, so it is possible to do all of this in one, right?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I'll give you an example. So when I was studying for my final year university exams, I was also training for the World Championships. So I was the first British Sikh female to represent Great Britain at the World Championships then. At the same time, I paddi bhi sigi and minu first bhi mil gaya, thankfully. So yeah, I'm just really grateful that my parents have always encouraged me and my brothers to really work hard, but not only in just academics, but apply that same mentality to sport ਨਾਲ ਵੀ
ਤਾਂ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਮੋਰੇ ਰੱਖਿਓ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆ ਬੜੇ ਟਰੋਫੀਆਂ ਆਈਆਂ ਆ ਗੋਲ ਜੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਆ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਮਾੜੇ ਆ ਮੈਡਲ ਮੂਡਲ ਜੇ ਆ ਇੱਕ ਅੱਧਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ ਮੈਂ ਲੈ ਜਾਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਅੱਧਾ ਲੈ ਜਾਣਾ ਕਰ but tell us what they're for.
So these are my medals that I won at the Commonwealth Powerlifting Championships. So I'm the reigning Commonwealth champion.
Wow. In the Commonwealth Games?
Yes, that was in Canada.
Champion.
Yep,
so ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਗਏ ਸੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
with a visa visa ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗਈ ਸੀ
ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕੰਪੀਟੀਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨਾਲ and we all travel together
so ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਜੀ ਖੈਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ so ਆ ਸਾਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਡਲ ਕੰਪੀਟੀਸ਼ਨਸ ਜਿੱਤੇ ਆ
ਹਾਂਜੀ so I won 3 gold medals so I won gold in the squat in the deadlift and the overall and I won 2 silver medals in the bench press as well.
ਤੁਸੀਂ squat ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ
मैं under 63 kilo class ਵਿੱਚ compete ਕਰਦੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ squat 150 kilos ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ ਆ
150 ਕਿਲੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੈਠ ਕੱਢ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
bench press
ਹੈਗੀ ਆ 93.5 kilos
wow ਬਾਕੀ ਦਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤੇ deadlift ਮੈਂ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੀ ਆ 170 kilos
170 ਕਿਲੋ you can lift
ਹਾਂਜੀ
wow so that's like 3/4 of the men now but we're gonna switch off so ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਹੀ ਲੈਣਾ but ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਦੁਖਦਾ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਗੋਡਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਦੁਖਦਾ so like yeah, do people get insecure around you, like females and males, like thinking, oh my God, like this is a proper champion, like, and look what she can do?
I think almost, I went for a job interview before, and when they saw my CV, you know, like British champion or went to the World and European Championships, they almost think, oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger's going to turn up with
definitely.
like a wig on, and then they see me
like a bazooka on the Monday.
Yeah, just mera dress by on the office wear. They say to see
army.
Yeah, they're like, they almost really surprised. But even when I was in working in London, that we had a gym facilities at work, and I'd always be surprising the lads there because they see me walking around the office all day, and then in the evening it's like I turn into a different animal when I'm training. So yeah.
Did you face any difficulties? I mean, it's not, we don't have a lot of role models in this category, and we've said that. I mean, did you have a lot of difficulties trying to get in and trying to, you know, become a champion, apart from apart from the normal struggles that you have?
I did have difficulties. I would say, first of all, when I went for my first competition, I'll give you an example. So when I walked into the competition, I had two of my older brothers next to me. Obviously, you know, they look muscular men themselves. ਉਹ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ ਪਰ ਜਦਾਂ ਇਹ ਕੁੜੀ ਨਾਲ ਉੱਦੇ ਆਈ ਆ
ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਫੋਟੋ ਖਿੱਚਣ ਆਈ ਆ ਇੰਸਟਾਗ੍ਰਾਮ ਲਈ
ਪੈਨ ਦੇਖਣ ਆਈ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਜੱਜ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹ ਆਏ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੋਨੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਕੰਪੀਟ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਅੱਜ and they're like no ਮੇਰੀ sister and they're like ਹੈਰਾਨ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ wow ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਕਦੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ because ਦੇਖਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ you don't see any Indian girls and that's like part of the reason I put myself forward. I want to encourage more kudiyan to get into strength sports and powerlifting. So yeah, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਗਈ ਸੀ compete ਕਰਿਆ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੀਤਾ and then ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ a little fire inside of me that I really want to show what I can do. So I did face difficulties, I guess, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ conceptions ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ
preconceptions.
ਹਾਂਜੀ preconceptions ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੇ community ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ.
Do you still get that? Do you still get that ਲੋਕ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ like maybe they make comments to your mum and dad like ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੰਮਾਂ 'ਚ ਪਾਇਆ ਇਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਇਹਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੁੱਟ ਦੇਣਾ ਤਾਂ ਪੂਰੇ ਸਹੁਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਏਦਾਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਏਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾਈਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਇਹ ਕੋਈ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ do you still get that comment? Let's be honest.
I'm sure they sometimes have a passing comment, but my dad is proud in raising me equal to my brothers, and like frankly if they're not strong enough in themselves then they're not going to be, you know, stuff for a daughter. Then like, of course you're going to get that mentality, but that's something I'm trying to break. I mean, why can't girls do this? Why can't they break barriers? And this is the example I want to say to the parents. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਪੜਨਾ ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਵੀ ਆ ਨਾਲੇ ਮੈਂ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ.
Wow. So ਅਕਸਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਨਫੋਰਚੂਨੇਟਲੀ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹੀ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਰੋਟੀ ਬਣਾਉਣੀ ਸਿਖਾ ਲਈਏ ਦਾਲ ਸਬਜ਼ੀਆਂ ਸਿਖਾ ਲਈਏ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੇ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਜਾਊਗੀ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਵਿਆਹ ਦਿਓ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਆ ਨਾ ਸੋ ਮੈਨੀ ਗਰਲਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਵਿਚਾਰੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਰੋਕ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਿਆਹਿਆ ਗਿਆ 18-19 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਬਟ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਕੁਛ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਮਾਪੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਲਾਈਕ ਕੈਰਨਜਿਸ ਮਮ ਐਂਡ ਡੈਡ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਦਾ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਕੇ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਐਂਡ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਇਨ ਦਿਸ ਕੇਸ your dad ਨੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਵੱਧ ਕੇ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਸੋ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਲਾਡਲੀ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਦੇਖ ਕੁੜੀਏ ਤੂੰ ਜੋ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਕਰ ਕਿ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਝੁੜਕਦੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਹੱਲੇ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੂੰ ਕਰ ਆਪਣਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਐਂਡ you've repaid his faith in everything. Look, you're a world champion, you've got all these medals here. ਆਪਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਇੰਨੀ ਮੈਂ ਸੱਚੀ ਦੱਸਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਨੀ ਮੈਡਲਾਂ ਦੇਖੀਆਂ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾਈਫ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਤੂੰ ਆਥੇ ਟੇਬਲ ਤੇ ਰੱਖ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਸੋ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਇਟਸ amazing Karanjit.
Thank you.
And if there's ladies out there now who want to say right who are gymming and who you know into health and fitness because a lot of apni are now hana apni ladies are into that and they're PT and they want to like follow this, pursue this as a career, and they're watching it, they're probably thinking they're inspired by you, hana? And they're probably saying to Prana tu hat piche hon main tanu dasdi par jak ke but what would you say to them? What's your message to them?
The message I would want to say is like, don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't do anything. If someone's opinion of you doesn't define you, I've always led by this idea that I want to be like a flame bearer. Sometimes it takes like the first person to do something, and then once you've seen my example, I want an army to follow suit. It would be my dream for girls my age to be, you know, on the competition, competing alongside me. So just, you know, get yourselves down to the gyms, don't be shy. And I would encourage ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਭਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੱਕਦੇ, ਆਪਣੇ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਓ, and, you know, support them. It's really important to have the support. But also I would say, from a parent's perspective, the best thing that you can give your child is your time. Give them your time. Like, whenever I went to training, my dad would be there with the stopwatch, you know, every sports day, my whole family turns up. Like, you need that support and presence because they want to make you proud at the end of the day. Yeah. And it's that attention and that support that will really make someone excel. So please give your children the time, and you'll really see them go far.
Wow. And I think एक बहुत वधिया मैसेज जो करनजीत ने दिता है एक अपने ਨਿਆਣਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਕਤ ਦਿਓ, and ਦੂਜਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਐਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਰੱਖੋ, ਪਰ ਤੀਜਾ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਜਿੰਮਾਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਲਾਉਨੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਓ, ਆਪਣੀ ਲੜਕੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਓ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਿ ਦੇਖੋ you can be just as good as us if not better. ਦੇਖੋ ਅੱਜ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮੈਡਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗਏ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਤ ਕੇ ਦਿਖਾ ਦਿਓ ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਖਾ ਹੋਣਾ. So well done, Karanjit. Bob, mere walon, I'm really happy to interview you because this is exactly the type of interview that we need for this show, and our community needs to hear this. Our community needs to see this. Our community needs to see people like Karanjit Kamyab hunde, see world champions. The ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ accountant ਵੀ ਬਣ ਗਈ, so ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਦੇ accounts ਵੀ ਕਰੇਗੀ, ਨਾਲੇ ਕੋਈ invoice ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੇਜ਼ ਕਰੂਗੀ, ਨਾਲੇ ਭਾਰਪੂਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਚੱਕ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ. So well done, Karanjit. Thank you very much, and we wish you luck. And Rab kare you inspire a lot more Asian ਕੁੜੀਆਂ to follow your field and to ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਚੈਂਪੀਅਨ ਜੇ ਇੱਕ ਅੱਧੀ ਮੈਡਲ ਰਹਿ ਗਈ ਹੋਏ ਜਿੱਤਣ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਤ ਕੇ ਆ ਜੀ ਅਗਲੇ ਸਾਲ.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ I will do. Thank you so much. Thank you.
ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਜੀ VTR.
ਸਤਨਾਮ 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 ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਜੀ. ਸਤਨਾਮ 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 ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਜੀ.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਆ ਵੀਰ MLSS ਯੂਕੇ ਤੋਂ. ਯੂਕੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਇਸ ਅੰਦੋਲਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸੀ. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਬਾਂਹ ਫੜੀ ਆ. ਸਾਡੇ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ 76,500 ਰੁਪਏ ਦਾ ਕਰਜ਼ਾ ਸੀ ਜੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕਰਾਤਾ. ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵੀਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨ ਕਰਦੇ, ਯੂਕੇ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.
So ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਕਲਿੱਪ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਖੁਸ਼ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੋਏ ਹੋਣੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੋਚੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਕਿ ਆ ਹਾਕੀਆਂ ਦੀਦੀਆਂ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਯੂਜੂਲੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਕੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਲਈ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਆ, ਪਰ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਜੋ ਹਾਕੀ ਦਾ ਸਹੀ ਯੂਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਇਸ ਫॉर द स्पोर्ट ऑफ प्लेइंग ਹਾਕੀ. ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਲਿੱਪ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੀ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਹੈਗੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸ਼ਪਾਰ Bogu. So ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, welcome to the show.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ.
And Ashpal actually uses a hockey for what it was intended for, to play sport. So Ashpal ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ ਦਈਏ that you know you're the first Asian female to be in the England and GB hockey squads. I mean, how was that? How did that break through? I mean, how did that happen for you?
I think I was 15 years old and I first represented England in Holland. That's when I first became the first Asian female to represent England. and it was a groundbreaking achievement, and it's almost a feeling that I can't really explain to anyone. And the only way I really can explain it is the connection between me and my father, who I'm lucky enough to say is my coach. And at the time of playing for England, it wasn't a thought in my head that I'd become the first Asian female to represent England. It was really just that I was playing for my country, and it's something I had dreamt of doing since I was really young. It was only afterwards, when I stepped off the hockey field after the game, my dad said to me, "What you've done today, you've created history. You've actually opened the pathway for other Asian females, not just in hockey, but across the board in all sports."
Do you find now that you have a lot of females contacting you, and after that, obviously, and saying, "Look, Ashpal, what you've done, we want to do the same"? And is there the female Asian talent out there, or do we still lack that?
As I sort of was in the junior age groups and progressing through up into the development program, a lot of athletes would contact me. I've been to things like the Sikh Youth UK camp. I've done a lot of camps at hockey camps across the world, where children have asked me and come to me and asked me about the sport, how to get involved. I think social media is a great thing at the moment, where you're easily approachable, and I've always been that athlete that's easily approachable to sort of give back to the community and give back to those females out there that do aspire to become the next me.
Your family's got a history of hockey as well, because your grandparents are involved in hockey, and so has that always been sort of, have they always guided you down that way? You can look, follow your needs in hockey, follow your ambitions in hockey. Have they been very supportive of that?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, my dad's always been the #1 supporter behind me. My mum also. I'm quite fortunate that my father is a decorated hockey player, has represented England and now Scotland at senior international level. My Nana Ji Milpreet Singh Sondh, he represented Uganda in the Olympic Games, as well as my grandparents from my father's side. My granddad Surjit Bogle and all of his brothers have played hockey to quite a substantial level.
Idivic, do you think that more girls are now coming into hockey? How many Asian girls have you seen? Because in India, hockey is a very big sport. India have done big things in hockey. Even other countries such as Pakistan, they've done very good stuff in hockey. And according to that, proportionally, there should be a lot more Asian kids in the UK who are taking up this sport.
Hockey is our national game back in India, but unfortunately, and this is quite sad, across the age groups, from what I understand and what I see, there's not very many females that are playing hockey and pursuing that. I know there are others in different respective sports, but as far as I'm aware currently, I can only name my younger sister. She's 12 years old and she's currently representing West Yorkshire, and hopefully she's going to be the next me. And I think that will then inspire the next generation even more. After I broke through into the international stage, there wasn't much backing behind to sort of promote what I'd done and the achievement that I had done. And now obviously there's me, and I'm out there, and that's my job. I'm there promoting all the time, like, girls get involved in sports, into the Gurdwara, telling parents, look, you need to support your children. Again, not just in sport, it could be in music, it could be in education, but give your children the opportunity. Give them that chance out there, just like every other child is given.
Is that your role now? Is that what you see your role is, to go out into the community and get children to come into sport and convince their parents? Is that what you've taken on as a full-time sort of responsibility now?
A full-time responsibility. I actually am a neurophysiotherapist.
Oh, wow. So, you've got a medical qualification as well, right?
Of course, yeah. But I haven't stopped playing. I'm still pursuing my Olympic dream to represent Great Britain in the Olympics and hopefully become the first Asian Sikh female to represent Team GB in an Olympic Games. Alongside my hockey, I also have a younger brother, Harry Singh Bogle, who is quite rapidly breaking his way up into the senior international program, hopefully, fingers crossed. So I've got quite a few roles. I'm coaching at the moment. I'm inspiring the next generation. Obviously still my job and my own personal dream.
Wow. And where do you see yourself going? I mean, where do you see sort of Asians, also Asian females in hockey, going? Is this something that they can definitely break into? Is the opportunities there? It's not weighted against them. Are there equal opportunities? And were there equal opportunities for you?
There's equal opportunities for everyone. It's a talent-based thing. You need to identify talent to start with. first of all, you need to be given the opportunity. Secondly, if you've got the talent, it needs to be identified. Thirdly, you need the support and the presence of your family and a backing to push you and bring you up. As you mentioned, females, there's a lack of females participating in sport. And there's organisations out there like Sporting Equals. There's the World Sikh Games at the moment that are doing quite a lot of work within the community to promote females in sport and promote sport as a whole in our Sikh community.
What's the message you would give to kids out there who are, a lot of Asian females out there, a lot of Asian males out there who want to take up hockey as a sport, but, you know, feel that, is this the right way to go? Or their families are just thinking, no, well, we don't see a lot of brown faces in the, you know, in English hockey, so should we let them do this or not? What would your message to them be?
My message would be is that don't let anybody stop you from pursuing your dream. If hockey is the avenue that you want to go down, then feel free to contact me, contact others that are involved. There's Rajan Bui, there's Yuvraj Bui.
Yeah.
They're from Leicester. They're both in the Great Britain Men's Development Programme.
Oh, wow.
There's my brother, Harry Singh Bogle.
Yeah.
So there are quite a few of us in and around the programme that you can contact. We are easily contactable. I'm sure the boys will be totally up for people messaging them to sort of help bring them into the sport and guide them. And again, my main message would be is parents need to support their children. You need to give your children the opportunity and the chance. And I was really fortunate that my parents allowed me to play sports, gave me the opportunity to play sport, but also push me academically.
Ashpal, thank you very much for coming into the studio. Good luck with all the different roles that you've taken on. Well done for taking on all them different roles, because it's hard enough making a career of your own, let alone trying to make other people's careers and then encourage other people in. And we wish you the best for the future. And if anyone wants to get involved in hockey, like Ashpal said, you can contact her, you can hit her up on the social media, and I'm sure she can point you in the right direction. And, you know, you've heard of Chakka the India, but Chakka the Ashpal, that's what we're going to say. Thank you very much. ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਆ ਇੱਕ ਕਿਸਾਨਸ ਇਨ ਨੀਡ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵੱਲ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਲੰਬੜਦਾਰਨੀ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਮਿਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਦੇ ਜ਼ਰੀਏ, Rupinder Bains, and she's actually a director at the FA, on the board of FA. Very hard position to get into, groundbreaking stuff, breaking glass ceilings just like Ashpal has done. She's our first Asian woman to do that as well. So ਆਪਾਂ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ ਆ ਵੀਡੀਓਜ਼ ਤੇ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਿੰਡ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਸਨਿਆੜ ਹੇੜੀ, ਜ਼ਿਲ੍ਹਾ ਪਟਿਆਲਾ, ਸਰਦਾਰ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਰਣਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਦੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਿਸਾਨ ਮੋਰਚੇ ਤੇ ਟਰੈਕਟਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਕੈਨਿਕੀ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਨ, ਤਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੌਤ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਸੀ। ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਮਾਤਾ ਜੀ ਆ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਅਡੋਪਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਬੱਚੀ ਅਮਨਦੀਪ ਕੌਰ। ਤਾਂ ਅਮਨਦੀਪ ਕੌਰ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹਨੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਟੀਮ ਨੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਡ ਨਿਊ ਸਕੂਟਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੰਯੋਗ ਨਾਲ। ਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਨਗੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਰਸੋਈ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ, ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਾਥਰੂਮ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ, ਇਹ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੰਯੋਗ ਨਾਲ। ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਟੀਮ ਨੇ ਸਲਾਹ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਬੱਚੀ ਅਮਨਦੀਪ ਕੌਰ ਦੇ ਆਨੰਦ ਕਾਰਜ ਦੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਤੋਂ ਪੂਰੀ ਰਿਸਪੋਂਸਿਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੰਯੋਗ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਸੇਵਾ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੀ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਇਹ ਸੇਵਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕੀਤੀ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
So as we know, today's topic is about Asians in sport, but not just actually people who play it, but also people involved in regulating the sport and managing the sport and creating rules and laws in the sport. So I'm very pleased to introduce now someone who I've known for a long time. We used to work together at one stage, and now she's a Lambardarni at the FA, as I like to call her. She's a director of the FA, and actually she's the first Asian ever on the board of the FA, Rupinder Bains. So Rupinder, welcome to the show. Sat Sri Akal.
Thank you.
Rupinder, as I described you in Punjabi as a Lambardarni, you're on the board of the FA. So please tell us first of all what you do. Because you're the first Asian ever to be on the board of the FA, and that's one taboo that you've broken and one glass ceiling that you've broken. But you know, people would have expected an Asian male to be there, but as an Asian female, I think that's really worthy of praise. The Baki Honsusi Sanu Dasoke, being a Lambardar at the FA, being on the board, what exactly do you do? So I'm just assuming like a lot of us now are looking in awe at the program and thinking, right, there's big chairs and big bundes sitting around big tables making big decisions. Is that what it's about?
Exactly what it's about, actually. There is a big table, and we do all sit around that big table. And we deal with very, very complicated and big issues, I have to say. Never did I think that I would be in that role, but the fact that I am, as an Asian and as a female, it puts a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. And it's really important for me personally to execute that responsibility in the best ways that as I possibly can. And that means not just about advocating the needs and the gaps, the glaring gaps that exist for ethnic minorities and for women, but also for the issues that face football today. And that can range from, things like safeguarding all the way to inclusion and diversity issues and the rulemaking of the game. So it's a whole host of issues that we deal with.
What is the FA doing about diversity and inclusion? We hear these words bandied around a lot. And then we also hear other stuff such as, racism. And that sort of puts a lot of Asians and Asian parents off sending their kids into sport. But what are the FA doing in relation to that? And also within its own staffing stuff, how is it being representative of the diverse culture that we have in the UK?
Yeah, that's a really, really broad question. And you know what? I completely understand why people from ethnically diverse backgrounds have a hesitancy, a reservation towards joining sport, whether that's playing or whether that is, being involved in another professional capacity. Because there's always some issue or another. It's like, well, they're never going to hire me. I've tried and I can't get in. It's all a, old boys network. And I understand that completely because, even joining the legal profession way back then, I faced some of that as well. So it's not just in sport, it is in other areas, but it's really about how these issues are being tackled. And I have to say, in the 3 years that I've been at the FA, and I know prior to that, the FA has had a bit of a reputation as being maybe seen as being disconnected, a bit out of touch. And maybe there was reason for that. But in the last 3 years that I've been with the organisation, there has been a massive shift of wanting to change, of reviewing the organisation and what it stands for. What are its objectives? It's not just about the bottom line. It's not just about making money. It's about looking at football holistically. I mean, football is powerful. It's the nation sport. And, it's used in the right way. It can make some huge, massive changes. And that's what they're doing that internally within the organisation itself. They're looking at, our own makeup. The FA is not just, the FA. There are so many facets within the organisation. It's huge. Right. And they're taking it apart and reviewing the entire makeup and looking at things like, the ethnicity pay gap, the gender pay gap, gender involvement, ethnicity involvement, everything like that is being looked at. I mean, at board level, we are now 30% female on the board. We were 40, wow. But we're now recruiting again for our senior independent director position on the board. It may be another female, in which case we're going to be 4 females. So, there is, that's been a huge shift away from what it used to be when I think around the board were, is the old male, pale, stale kind of presentation that the FA always had. But apart from internally, externally, the FA is doing a lot of work as well. And we've got the Asian inclusion plans, which are being advocated at the moment. And I believe one of my colleagues that you'll have on will talk more about that. But I'm part of the Asian Female National Advisory Group, which was set up about 2 years ago. And it's made up of 17 Asian women, some within the FA and some from outside of the FA, but involved in football anyway. And we come together to discuss what the issues are with regards to Asian women and getting them involved in football. Because using independent research, we found that the Asian community is probably the least active group in England. And Asian females make up a large percentage of that. So how can we get them engaged in football, not as for health benefits in terms of playing, but also involvement at professional levels, you know, to look at next leadership, female leadership potentials, role models, ambassadors for the game. So, you know, we're trying to see what we can do there to engage them. So that's a big piece of work that's going on at the moment. And we're trying to get football ingrained in our little girls so that they play it at their first opportunities at school, so that they get a taster for this. And we've got the Wildcat program, which is run out in primary schools now for age 5 to 11. And in fact, I know the Guru Nanak Gurdwara FC have got a girls team just from that Wildcat Cats initiative, and they now got that little team of girls playing in their local league. So you know, it is happening. There are more and more girls and women getting involved, but we just need to encourage more, whether they want to play it on a social basis or whether they want to get involved in a professional capacity. There is now scope to do so. And possibly, I think the biggest thing that we introduced at the end of last year was the Leadership Equality Code, which I don't know if you're familiar with that, but basically that has been signed up to, that code has been signed up to now by a lot of the Premier League clubs, the EFL clubs, Women's Super League, Women's Championship clubs. And the code basically is about employment at senior levels. So senior levels in board levels, management levels, going down in coaching levels. So it's both on the pitch and off the pitch again, but the senior levels. And it's looking at how the clubs are recruiting. The clubs actually have to report back on an annual basis and look at what hires they've made. And, you know, we're actually setting targets for meeting inclusion and diversity targets. So, you know, the fact that they have to report back annually brings about a level of transparency. And with transparency comes accountability. And that's what makes the code so groundbreaking, because that's never been done before. Everybody has always had this impression that job positions were given in football to people you know. It's a closed network. There's no way to penetrate that network. That's now changing. And I have to say, in my professional career, whether it's legal, whether it's in football, this is the first time that I have ever actually felt a real shift in momentum. I feel the need for people to want to change. And it begins at the senior levels, because there's no point having that, you know, just in random places. You need that from the top, going right down the organisation. And we're really lucky because our senior levels at the FA, you know, obviously we're recruiting for a new chair at the moment, but our CEO, Mark Bullingham, absolutely superb. You know, he is such an advocate for diversity and inclusion. I mean, it's there at our board meetings all the time. We discuss the issues. We discuss where we're at. It's not just something that we don't take it on a reactionary basis. So when an incident takes place, then what are we going to do? It's a rolling agenda item, so that it's never too far from our minds, and we make sure that we're constantly addressing these issues.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. And Sat Sri Akal. Then that was Rupinder Baines on the board of directors of the FA.
Wow, so you've heard from now a director at the FA, Rupinder Baines. Actually, it's a bit of a B takeover this week, because everyone's surname seems to be beginning with B. But you've heard from them, and we've heard from players, and we've heard from participants in sport. But one segment we haven't heard from is fans. So we haven't heard from the fans, but luckily, ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੋ fan ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, agent ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ. So we've got Shivani and her dad Raman. ਜੋ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, welcome to the show.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ.
Raman, tell us, we know you're a big fan, Manchester United fan.
Yeah.
You go to all of the games, and recently I've seen off your Facebook, Shivani goes as well.
Yes.
She goes to all of the games. I don't know many dads who take their daughters to football games.
Sure.
And because we're obviously still worried about the sort of banter that you get and the sort of things that you hear at football grounds. So why did you decide to take Shivani to games?
Well, to be honest with you, first and foremost, she's my best friend. Which I think is probably unusual for lots of fathers to say, but it's something, football's always been instilled in me from a young age. Yeah. And if I'm honest with you, I don't take no differentiation between a daughter or a son. So I'm blessed to have my daughter, and I think it's a great experience for my daughter to have socially as well as obviously regarding sport itself. So I take it as a blessing.
Shivani, when you first went to a football match, you must have thought, oh my God, what's all this crowd knows going on? Yeah. People talking here and talking there. Yeah. And you probably, was it a bit overwhelming? And how old were you when you first went to your event?
I think I was around 6 or 7 when I went to my first ever match at the Old Trafford itself. Yeah. It was a bit overwhelming at first, but I think obviously when you have your dad by your side, he's reassuring you, going, it's fine, just trust me. First, it can be a bit intimidating being especially the only young Asian female there. Yeah. Especially, looking around and seeing there's not that many Asians, but there's not that many young female Asians especially. And I think I'd like to say I'm an advocate for young female Asians especially who would like to go to a football match or just be involved in any sort of sport. As I think nowadays in this community, it can be a bit overlooked. Yeah. I feel like, people think that young females can't go to the football or not like football and they're only allowed to stick to certain things. I think that, luckily with my dad and stuff, he's always been quite open and said, if you'd like to go into football, you can, whether that's playing football itself or just even being involved in media or just watching it or anything like that.
Wow. There's a distinct lack of brown faces in Asian football. Mm-hmm. And in the management, in coaching, on the boards, on decision makers. Mm-hmm. What do we need to do to correct that? I mean, we've heard what the FA said they're doing, and we've heard what a lot of players have experienced themselves. But as a fan, and you're a football agent now yourself, so what do we need to do to correct that?
I think there's quite a lot to do, even as a community in itself as well. And I think the views of for obviously generations have changed, thankfully. And I'm pleased to say I think that those generational changes are sort of coming into fruition. Yeah. There's still plenty of work to do, including obviously for organisations. Again, you've just mentioned one there. That there's other organisations that are involved. There's quite a bit of work still to do. And I think there's always been this thing that Asians can't necessarily play football or they're not good at this and they're only good at cricket.
Yeah, genetically they're not going to make up, they're kamjor. Or...
Absolutely. But, we've seen that that's actually not true. I won't know every single player, but of course there's been representatives that have played. And
we had one on here today, Yan, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, Yan's a shining example, and long may it continue. I hope that many more make that breakthrough. But of course, those barriers still need to be broken. And unfortunately, as much as we don't want to admit it, there has been, and probably still is at some levels, a bit of institutionalized racism. And that's something that it's not just our Asian community that needs to help to break those barriers, but I think other communities as well.
Shivani, you talked about media and about Asian women in media. There's a lot more now that I see on TV, on BBC, on Sky Sports, and obviously a lot more Asian faces. Talk Sport as well on the radio station. You don't see the face, but obviously you hear the voice. Of course. So surely that must encourage you now that there's a lot more willingness to employ Asian females in these sort of fields, right?
Yeah, at first, like going into sport itself or like football, I was always quite nervous, and I always said to Dad, I'm a girl. Like, what are people going to think of me at school and stuff? It's not like the norm as such.
Yeah, it isn't.
So like for a girl to go to football matches every week with her dad and enjoy it as much as I do and post on social media, my experience. I've been a bit more open to the idea of going into football a bit more, whether that's via social media, TV, anything like that. I think it's always nice to see, especially other Asian females or just Asians in general, getting involved in the love of football.
And I think the inspirations can come from lots of people. I mean, Rashmin Chowdhury, I'll openly admit, I think she's done a fantastic job. And again, she's a great source of inspiration for, South Asian females. There's plenty of others as well. Bella Shah, of course, on Sky Sports. So it's
and
encouraging.
Even from the other communities, like Alex Scott.
Absolutely.
So she's great.
She's got great knowledge, by the way, Alex says, and again, her knowledge of sport, football itself is second to none, and it's quite refreshing to see that obviously the females are making that progress, and long may it continue.
As a football agent, what do you intend to do to help our community and the kids from our community to break these barriers?
Well, of course, one of the roles is to identify talent that we believe is going to be, beneficial not only just to themselves but also to our company as well. So I'm grateful for the work that I've been doing with DRN Sports, and of course, I would like to, be able to tap into a market which I believe is still large.
Untapped.
Absolutely, and it's still at large. And of course, there's many more hurdles to overcome yet. But the breakthrough can easily happen. But of course, it's going to need the likes of myself and maybe others as well to actually identify the talent and give them the opportunity. By the way, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be just always at the Premier League level. It could be Championship, League One, League Two.
Depending on ability.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the calibre of player, obviously, we are interested in. We need to have that calibre of player. But of course, from my own personal perspective, I'd gain so much satisfaction if I could, of course, unearth a couple of players from the South Asian or Indian heritage. I'd be absolutely delighted to do so.
Raman, Shivani, thank you for coming on. You've been brilliant. It's good to see a father and daughter in such tandem in relation to sport. You don't see that often. And so anybody out there who's a very good football player, don't worry, Raman's going to spot you and he's going to make you into the next Ronaldo. So only if you're good enough.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. So thank you very much. ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਜੋ ਸੀਗਾ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਸੀਗਾ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਕਿਸਾਨਸ ਇਨ ਨੀਡ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਦੇਖੋਗੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪੈਸਾ ਜੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਸ ਦਿਨ ਰੇਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਔਨ ਦਾ ਹਿਸਟੋਰਿਕ ਨਾਈਟ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਲਗਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਐਂਡ all the transparency is there. Also along the scroll you will see the MLSS website address where you can go and see where your money's gone to via photos, via proper transparency accounts. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਗਏ ਆ। As weekly ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਸੀਗਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ and hopefully you enjoyed the show and hopefully ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਚੈਂਪੀਅਨਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਲੇਅਰਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਫੈਨਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਏਜੰਟਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਐਂਡ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਐਂਡ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪੁਸ਼ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਕਿ ਸਪੋਰਟਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਰਟੇਕ ਕਰੋ ਐਂਡ the message tonight is if you love a sport, if you enjoy what you're doing, go for it. You can make a career out of it like all these people have. So please don't give up on your dreams. Don't feel you have to crush them and do something else. Follow them. And parents, encourage them. We went through different times, but, we all, as parents, we say one thing, that I don't want my kids to go through the times that I went through and the difficulties I went through. So now's our chance to make a difference. Let's walk the walk as well as talking the talk. Mere ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਿਸਾਨ ਸੇ ਨੀਡ ਦੀ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋਗੇ ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਬੁਲਾ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
ਤੂੰ ਕਾਹੇ ਡੋਲੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਣੀਆਂ ਤੁਧ ਰਾਖੇਗਾ ਸਿਰਜਣਹਾਰ ਤੂੰ ਕਾਹੇ ਡੋਲੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਣੀਆਂ ਤੁਧ ਰਾਖੇਗਾ ਸਿਰਜਣਹਾਰ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸਾਡਾ ਸੁਪੁੱਤਰ ਕਰਨਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਮਿਡਲੈਂਡ ਲੰਗਰ ਸੇਵਾ ਸੁਸਾਇਟੀ ਯੂਕੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆੜਤ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਲੋਨ ਸੀ ਸਾਰਾ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਯੂਕੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਦੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
मैं सुखदेव सिंह आड़तिया वासी पिंड लखना करनवीर सिंह पुत्र बलकार सिंह वासी भुरगविंड ने जो मेरे कोलों आड़त का लोन लिया सी वो सारा ही लोन मिडलैंड लंगर सेवा सोसाइटी यूके वालियां ने बनती सारी रकम दे दी है। हुण करनवीर नाल साडा कोई लैन देन नहीं रहा।